Roar.
Shh. Roar.
Hair's kind of lopsided today. Whatever. Hi, guys. Back again. I have a couple of different topics this time around, so I'll just jump straight into them. First, from my when I asked you guys for suggestions of future content, I got a couple responses. A couple saying that maybe, the grocery store adventures might be a good idea. Do maybe a live stream of going through some of the, I've mentioned a few times the different things that show up in my little local market, and I've just taken pictures of the for sale signs and stuff like that. But, you haven't really seen the layout of the place or, the sort of feel of the whole store. I'm not averse to the idea. The problem at the moment is I don't have a smartphone. So a live stream is not really in my wheelhouse at the moment. Theoretically, I could just take my laptop and do it, just, set it up in the toddler seat in the grocery cart. But, then I'd be attracting, people staring for arguably pretty good reason. And then, there's the whole issue of, when I try to pick this up and angle it, you've seen in some of my videos what happens when I try to use this as a mobile camera instead of putting it on a stand. But, I might do that in the future. Might not. I'm not sure. I'm really not at the moment. So I will keep that in consideration. If something changes, I will give that a try. The next suggestion was maybe I mentioned the local food bank, the neighborhood table, and the suggestion was that maybe I could go in and talk about that place, show you what that setup is, and maybe I could do interviews with the people who run it, who are mostly retirees. And that would be, I could do that too. I'm not making any promises as far as timeline goes, because A, I'm a terrible procrastinator, and B, again, I'm not too confident about my equipment. Like, when it's just sitting here like this, my computer does fine. Trying to carry it around, it's awkward to handle because I can't see what I'm doing. Not even, even with a phone, you can see what you're recording while you're recording it. This, I have to, hold it and try to look at it at the same time, and it doesn't really work. But yes, that is another idea that does sound like something I might do. The next one, I'm starting to love this guy. The same person who brought up the processed food issue that I went off about last time, this time came back talking about whole foods and organic food. And oh boy, do I have things to say about that too. So, first of all, about Whole Foods, Whole Foods is a huge waste of money a lot of the time. In fact, in my family, we like to call it whole paycheck, because, it's ridiculous. The prices are ridiculous in that place, and for no real reason most of the time. And as far as organic food goes, it's a marketing ploy. It really is. It's not any more nutritious. 'Cause, okay, for one thing, especially when it comes to things like eggs, organic eggs, why? What's the point? What's the difference? Okay, fine. You can say, the chickens were fed, only organic food. But again, organic grain is not any more nutritious than, I don't know what you want to call it, artificial grain. I don't know what you would call it. It's just food. And another thing that they try to trick you with is brown eggs. Brown eggs are exactly the same as white eggs. They charge you twice as much because we've come to associate brown with healthy, brown rice, whole wheat bread. Not the same thing. Eggs are eggs, okay? And as far as the rest of it goes, organic is more expensive, and there's no real need to pay that more for most people. And, there are a number of reasons why it's more expensive. First of all, raising organic means you don't use any manufactured fertilizers, which make the yields larger, which therefore means you can charge less. But the problem with that is they use natural fertilizers instead, aka manure, which leads to a greater risk of contamination with things like E. coli and salmonella. And then there's the issue of that, again, smaller yields, which means it's going to be more expensive, and they tend to be not quite as sturdy, as physically sturdy, so a lot more of it gets damaged in transit, which makes it more expensive. And then there's the fact that it just doesn't last as long on the shelf. It rots sooner, which again will make it more expensive. There are a lot of reasons that it gets to the expense that it is, and none of them really are a reason to buy it over the non-organic stuff, because it nutritionally and flavor-wise, as far as I'm concerned, is exactly the same. So yeah, organic food, I don't bother with the organic section most of the time. It's just, why? Why pay twice as much for this bell pepper versus that bell pepper? It makes people feel better about themselves to say that they buy organic, but that's really all it does. It doesn't do anything for you. That's my piece on organic food. I think that'll about fill up this video, and there is one more thing I did want to get to, but I'm going to put it, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in a separate video. I'm going to make it a private video, so only the people who are actually watching this will get to it. Maybe that's, no real point to that, but it's kind of a little more personal. I spent a little while talking about food insecurity and being, able to pay for food. And I do have a little more to say about that on a more personal level. So I want to keep it, I guess a little more quiet. I don't know. I'll probably make it public eventually, but right now I'm just going to make it, for the few people who are here. Like, I'm not going to post that one to Facebook or Twitter. It's just going to be people who actually show up for this. Which, doesn't really make sense, because I'm going to post this one to Facebook and Twitter, so anyone who follows that here, whatever, it doesn't have to make sense. That's just the way I'm going to do it. So, yeah, if you want to hear more about that, go ahead and click to that video. Otherwise, I will see you on Friday.